Courage to be Disliked. The Courage to be Disliked is a book that delves into the teachings of the 20th century Austrian psychologist Alfred Adler, who is known for his theories on individual psychology. The book is a dialogue between a philosopher and a young man, in which the philosopher challenges the young man's beliefs and offers alternative perspectives on life, happiness, and fulfillment. Through their conversations, the philosopher emphasizes the importance of taking responsibility for one's own life and choices, the dangers of pursuing happiness as the ultimate goal, and the importance of living a meaningful and purposeful life. The book encourages readers to embrace their imperfections, accept their unhappiness, and find the courage to be themselves and live a life that is true to their values and goals. Part 1: Introduction to Adlerian Psychology. Chapter 1. The First Night, The Courage to be Happy. In this chapter, the philosopher introduces the idea that everyone has the potential to be happy, but it requires the courage to overcome obstacles and pursue a life of meaning and purpose. The philosopher argues that people often mistakenly believe that happiness is dependent on external circumstances, such as wealth or social status, but in reality, it is a state of mind that can be achieved through personal growth and development. He emphasizes the importance of taking responsibility for one's own life and rejecting the idea that past experiences or circumstances determine one's future. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, questioning the validity of Adlerian psychology and suggesting that happiness may be subjective and different for each individual. However, the philosopher argues that while happiness may be subjective, it is still attainable through personal growth and the development of social interest, or a concern for the well-being of others. Chapter 2. The Second Night, The Individual Psychology of Alfred Adler. In this chapter, the philosopher explains the core principles of Adlerian psychology, including the concept of the individual psychology and the importance of social interest. The philosopher explains that Adlerian psychology is based on the idea that every person is unique and has a unique set of experiences and circumstances that shape their personality and behavior. He emphasizes the importance of understanding each individual's unique perspective and recognizing the subjective nature of human experience. The philosopher also introduces the concept of social interest, which refers to a person's concern for the well-being of others and their ability to contribute to society. He argues that social interest is a fundamental aspect of Adlerian psychology and is essential for achieving happiness and fulfillment in life. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that people may be inherently selfish and that social interest may not be universal. However, the philosopher argues that social interest is a natural aspect of human nature and can be developed through personal growth and the cultivation of meaningful relationships. Chapter 3: The Third Night, Separating Tasks. In this chapter, the philosopher explains the importance of separating tasks in order to achieve success and happiness. The philosopher argues that one of the main reasons people struggle to achieve their goals is because they try to do too much at once. He suggests that in order to be successful, it is important to separate tasks into manageable pieces and to focus on each task one at a time. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of taking action and not getting bogged down by analysis paralysis. He argues that taking action, even if it is imperfect or incomplete, is better than doing nothing at all. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that there may be situations where it is necessary to multitask or to work on multiple projects simultaneously. However, the philosopher argues that even in these situations, it is important to prioritize tasks and focus on completing them one at a time. Part 2: The Misconception About Life. Chapter 4. The Fourth Night, The Separation of Tasks. In this chapter, the philosopher continues to expand on the idea of separating tasks introduced in the previous chapter. The philosopher argues that the separation of tasks is essential for achieving happiness and fulfillment in life. He suggests that by focusing on one task at a time and breaking it down into smaller, manageable pieces, individuals can reduce anxiety and feel a sense of accomplishment. The philosopher also discusses the importance of taking responsibility for one's own life and actions. He argues that individuals have the power to choose their own path and to take action to achieve their goals, rather than being passive victims of circumstance. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that some people may face significant obstacles that prevent them from achieving their goals. However, the philosopher philosopher argues that even in difficult circumstances, individuals have the power to choose their own attitude and to take action towards creating a better life for themselves. Chapter 5. The Fifth Night, Social Interest. In this chapter, the philosopher discusses the concept of social interest, which is a central tenet of Adlerian psychology. The philosopher explains that social interest is the ability to see oneself as part of a larger community and to work towards the greater good. He argues that individuals who have a strong sense of social interest are more likely to be happy and fulfilled, as they are able to find meaning and purpose in their lives by contributing to the world around them. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that it is difficult to maintain a sense of social interest in a society that is focused on individual achievement and competition. However, the philosopher argues that social interest is not incompatible with individual success, and that in fact, individuals who have a strong sense of social interest are often more successful in the long run. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of empathy in developing social interest. He argues that by understanding the perspectives and needs of others, individuals can develop a greater sense of connection and community, which can lead to greater happiness and fulfillment. Chapter 6. The Sixth Night, Fictional Finalism. In this chapter, the philosopher introduces the concept of fictional finalism, which is a key aspect of Adlerian psychology. The philosopher explains that fictional finalism refers to the idea that individuals are driven by a fictional or imagined goal, rather than a concrete, objective one. He argues that individuals create these fictional goals in order to find meaning and purpose in their lives, and that they can be powerful motivators. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that it is important to have concrete, measurable goals in order to achieve success. However, the philosopher argues that fictional finalism can be just as effective in motivating individuals, as long as they are aware of their underlying motivations and work towards aligning their actions with their desired outcomes. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of finding one's own unique path in life, rather than simply following the expectations of others or society. He argues that by understanding one's own fictional finalism, individuals can find greater fulfillment and happiness in their lives. Chapter 7. The Seventh Night, Community Feeling. In this chapter, the philosopher discusses the importance of community feeling, which is another central concept in Adlerian psychology. The philosopher explains that community feeling refers to a sense of connection and belonging to a larger community. He argues that individuals who have a strong sense of community feeling are more likely to be happy and fulfilled, as they are able to find support and encouragement from those around them. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that it can be difficult to develop a sense of community feeling in a society that values individualism and competition. However, the philosopher argues that community feeling is not incompatible with individual success, and that in fact, individuals who have a strong sense of community feeling are often more successful in the long run. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of building and maintaining positive relationships in developing community feeling. He argues that by investing time and effort into developing strong relationships with others, individuals can cultivate a sense of connection and belonging, leading to greater happiness and fulfillment. Part 3. The Misconception about Happiness. Chapter 8. The Eighth Night, The Courage to be Normal. In this chapter, the philosopher challenges the young man's belief that he must be exceptional in order to be happy and fulfilled. The philosopher argues that there is no such thing as a normal person, as everyone has their own unique characteristics and traits. He suggests that the young man's belief that he must be exceptional is actually holding him back, as it creates unrealistic expectations and a constant sense of pressure to perform. The philosopher encourages the young man to embrace his own uniqueness and to recognize that happiness and fulfillment can be found in everyday life. He suggests that by focusing on personal growth and building positive relationships with others, individuals can find greater meaning and purpose in their lives, regardless of whether they are exceptional or not. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that he wants to be exceptional in order to gain recognition and respect from others. However, the philosopher argues that true respect and admiration come from living a life that is true to oneself and that brings value to others. Chapter 9. The Ninth Night, The Courage to be Imperfect. In this chapter, the philosopher discusses the importance of accepting one's imperfections and embracing a growth mindset. The philosopher argues that individuals who have a growth mindset see their mistakes and failures as opportunities for learning and growth, rather than as a reflection of their inherent worth. He suggests that by embracing a growth mindset, individuals can cultivate greater self-acceptance and self-esteem, leading to greater happiness and fulfillment. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that accepting one's imperfections means settling for mediocrity. However, the philosopher argues that embracing one's imperfections is not about settling for less, but rather about recognizing that perfection is an unattainable ideal that can never be achieved. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of taking responsibility for one's own life and choices. He suggests that by taking ownership of one's mistakes and failures, individuals can learn from them and grow as a result. Chapter 10. The 10th Night, the Courage to be Unhappy. In this chapter, the philosopher challenges the young man's belief that happiness is the ultimate goal in life. The philosopher argues that pursuing happiness as the ultimate goal can actually lead to greater unhappiness, as it creates unrealistic expectations and a constant sense of dissatisfaction. He suggests that instead of focusing on happiness, individuals should focus on living a meaningful and purposeful life. The young man challenges the philosopher's ideas, suggesting that living a meaningful life is not enough if one is unhappy. However, the philosopher argues that unhappiness is a natural part of life and that it is important to embrace it as such. He suggests that by accepting and acknowledging their unhappiness, individuals can find greater meaning and purpose in their lives. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of taking action to change one's circumstances if they are unhappy. He suggests that by taking responsibility for their own lives and choices, individuals can create a life that is more aligned with their values and goals. Part 4. The Journey to Adulthood. Chapter 11. The 11th Night, the Courage to be Responsible. The philosopher emphasizes the importance of taking responsibility for one's own life and choices, rather than blaming others or external circumstances for one's problems. The young man argues that some circumstances, such as poverty or discrimination, can make it difficult for individuals to take responsibility for their lives. However, the philosopher suggests that even in such circumstances, individuals still have a choice in how they respond to the challenges they face. By taking responsibility for their response, individuals can regain a sense of control over their lives. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of recognizing the interconnectedness of all individuals and taking responsibility for the impact of one's actions on others. He suggests that by considering the needs and perspectives of others, individuals can develop a sense of social interest and contribute to the greater good. Chapter 12. The 12th Night, the Courage to be Independent. The philosopher suggests that true independence comes from having the courage to be oneself and to live according to one's own values and beliefs, rather than simply following the expectations of others or society. The young man expresses concern that being too independent can lead to isolation and loneliness, but the philosopher counters that true independence actually requires connection with others. He suggests that individuals can only be truly independent when they are able to form meaningful relationships based on mutual respect and understanding. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of developing a sense of self-worth independent of external factors, such as wealth or status. He suggests that by valuing oneself for who they are, rather than what they have or what others think of them, individuals can develop a greater sense of inner strength and resilience. Chapter 13. The 13th Night, the Courage to be Free. In this chapter, the philosopher and the young man discuss the idea of freedom and what it truly means to be free. The philosopher argues that true freedom is not simply the ability to do whatever one wants, but rather the ability to choose one's own actions and take responsibility for the consequences. The young man questions whether it is truly possible to be free in a society that places so many limitations and constraints on individuals, but the philosopher suggests that true freedom comes from within. He suggests that individuals can cultivate a sense of inner freedom by taking responsibility for their own lives and choices, and by living according to their own values and beliefs. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of being aware of the ways in which we are influenced by external factors, such as societal expectations and cultural norms. He suggests that by recognizing these influences and making conscious choices about how to live our lives, we can become more free. Part 5, Conclusion. Chapter 14. The 14th Night, the Courage to Be Yourself. In this chapter, the philosopher and the young man discuss the idea of authenticity and what it means to be true to oneself. The philosopher argues that many people live their lives according to the expectations and opinions of others, rather than following their own inner voice and sense of purpose. The young man questions whether it is truly possible to be oneself in a society that places so much pressure on conformity and fitting in, but the philosopher suggests that true authenticity comes from within. He suggests that individuals can cultivate a sense of authenticity by being honest with themselves about their values and desires, and by living according to those values and desires, even if it goes against societal norms. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of accepting and embracing one's own flaws and imperfections. He suggests that by acknowledging our own weaknesses and vulnerabilities, we can develop a greater sense of empathy and compassion for ourselves and others. Chapter 15. The 15th Night, the Courage to Be Happy, reprise. The philosopher and the young man revisit the topic of happiness, which was first discussed in Chapter 1. The philosopher emphasizes that happiness is not something that can be pursued directly, but rather something that comes as a byproduct of living a meaningful and purposeful life. He suggests that individuals can cultivate a sense of happiness by developing a sense of community, by taking responsibility for their own lives, and by living in accordance with their own values and desires. The young man raises the question of whether it is truly possible to be happy all the time, but the philosopher argues that life is full of ups and downs, and that happiness is not a constant state of being. The philosopher also emphasizes the importance of gratitude and appreciation in cultivating a sense of happiness. He suggests that by focusing on the positive aspects of their lives and expressing gratitude for what they have, individuals can cultivate a greater sense of happiness and contentment. Chapter 16. The Last Night, the Courage to Live. In the final chapter of The Courage to Be Disliked, the philosopher summarizes the key teachings from the previous chapters and ties them together to present his overall message. He argues that individuals have the power to create their own lives and that it is up to them to take responsibility for their choices and actions. The philosopher emphasizes the importance of living in the present moment, rather than dwelling on past mistakes or worrying about the future. He suggests that by focusing on the present, individuals can live with greater purpose and meaning, and can create a life that is aligned with their values and goals. He also discusses the concept of unfinished business, which refers to unresolved emotional baggage from the past that can hold individuals back from living fully in the present. He suggests that by acknowledging and addressing this unfinished business, individuals can free themselves from its hold and move forward with greater clarity and purpose. Finally, the philosopher encourages individuals to live a life that is true to themselves, rather than trying to conform to societal expectations or the expectations of others. He suggests that by embracing their true selves and living authentically, individuals can find greater happiness and fulfillment in life.